I would not be in favor of doing the 12-month. At the difference in price there up to 380, we have pretty high participation among our residents in the aggregation program. And I hate having a bunch of people have to jump out, go get another one, and jump back in. And I'm afraid the 380 price might be such that we would cause a lot of people to be jumping back and forth. And so since we always have the option that they could get out, I'd say let's go for a longer term, the 24 or the 36, and they have the choice of getting out then, not just getting out now and having to jump back in. And yeah, so that's my thought on it.
I have a question pertaining to that, since there is that option. I know I have read over the years from things like this, sometimes there's a penalty.
There's currently no penalty for opting out or opting in.
I think he means if you're in and then want to get out.
Yes.
Opting out, there's no fee.
But as a city as a whole, we might be penalized.
Yeah.
Go into the contract.
Individual residents. That's what I'm going to check with Tom Bellish. I'll contact him tomorrow to see how that would work.
Okay. So,
Which makes me wonder if they have that option, the rate will probably be higher if you get that option to get out. You know, that it's all the dynamic of that, I think.
NOPEC has a lot of different options and benefits, so we haven't really heard. It might be, I know as far as grants and opportunity with new builders, there is, a lot of different potential that they offer. So at the same time, if, we're looking at a few cents here, and I understand it's quite a bit. I mean, it's about 30-40%, but if NOPEC has programs for new businesses that's going to help save money to bring larger corporations in too, I hate to not even have that opportunity.
I believe you can use NOPEC services without their necessary.
You have to be a member.
You have to be.
Yes, you have to be a member
of the aggregation.
You have to be a member of NOPEC.
Member of NOPEC. That's different than choosing to be in there.
The only way that we were able to get in is if we did one of their aggregation programs. You buy into you get into one of their aggregation programs,
and you get the other benefits.
And you get the other benefits.
Okay.
And so I don't want to lock us into something for longer than 12 months and miss out yet another 2-3 years on some of the benefits that they have, because they do have a lot of programs that I think would benefit the city as a whole.
These aggregation programs that we now have, the residential and then also small commercial businesses.
So I think at this point, with what we've heard, holding off the vote tonight to do anything, plan on next Monday, and then if you have any updates from Tom Bellish, kind of work from there, but we'll plan on voting. Go ahead.
I don't understand that. I questioned this last month at this meeting. Why didn't we approve this in July, first in a regular meeting in July? It's just to approve that the mayor signed it. But it seems like the more we delay, the more the price goes up. So what are we waiting for? And if we wait another week, will the prices keep going up even more? So this is all confusing to me. I just don't understand the timing element. Because, when we talked to Tom Bellish, the price was $309. And it's just skyrocketed since.
That was the price request.
Well, right. But I mean,
he never said that it was going to be $309.
No, but he certainly didn't say he expected it to go up to $355.
I think he was bound by the market too. He
Yeah,
was waiting on.
Right, and the market is just going in one direction. That's why I'm worried the longer we wait.
Well, on the flip side, signing a longer contract, then we're bound by that price, even though if it were to.
Well, that's true, but what if the prices continue to go up, and a year from now we're looking in the $4 range? when we could have locked in at 355. I don't know, it's all very speculative. I don't understand this, and I don't understand the timing element, so I don't know how to vote on this, to be honest
So,
with you.
Tom also said in his email today, another email, that those that don't get into the city's program, it'd be like 4 to 12 for NCF at a variable rate for January. So that's variable. I think it's always better to go with fixed when you're in something like this anyways. But
So what we're looking at is either 1 month to give us a chance, because we're not going to be able to do no PEC now.
No, it would be, the earliest we could do it would be next year at this
Yeah.
time.
So the 1 year option is to give us time to look at that. Otherwise, we're better off with the longer term just because the price is lower. And that's what you favor. I don't know what to do.
But I think at least
Well, I think we have to explore our options.
and I will.
I mean, that year would give us more options.
Tomorrow to say, we discussed this tonight. If we went for the 36 month, and then in the meantime, within that term, if we found something else we wanted to go with, would we be able to opt out as a city?
What about if they would match it?
I can't speak for that.
I mean, that
Good
could be an
question.
option too.
Yeah.
If they would, because we've been with them for a long time, and if, we look at another supplier.
But I think the market is what it is.
Yeah, and NOPEC emailed to us. The difference is that you don't get the programs and benefits that NOPEC has to offer. And that's more why we're looking at a 1 year, or why we would want to consider a 1 year over locking us into 3 or 4 if we can't opt out.
Have we already talked to NOPEC and they've given us an example of what they thought a price would be
Yeah,
Yes,
there
I
was
emailed that to everyone.
today?
No, last
Last
week.
week.
Oh, I have to go back and find it. What did it say? May I ask?
Give a bunch of options.
It gave the variable option, the standard option, gave the 12-month, 24-month, as well as links to the programs that they provide. Let's see.
Okay.
Their 12-month on here as of July was $335, 24-month was $325. But that varies until you lock in.
Okay. So, my confusion is not knowing what the right thing to do is, but my other confusion is why would we come here next week when we're not scheduled and not just vote on it tonight? What's going to make a difference between now and next Monday?
because I want to know, I think if we were to pursue the 12-month contract, explore other options with NOPEC or other providers, then we have that runway to get ready for next year. Or from now until next week, Kay has an opportunity to ask Tom whether if we sign a 24, 36, or 48-month contract, if we have an out, should we pursue other providers? But I think that's where I'm coming from. If we want to put this off for a week, to have a little bit more time to ask him that question, or if they would match, as Amy said. I think for now, I'm suggesting we hold off on this. I can't predict, that we don't end up higher. You're right. I'm not the subject matter expert in this, so.
Well, I guess then procedurally, we have a special meeting following this meeting for that purpose. So I guess somebody's going to have to vote or make a motion to table it or something. I don't know. I don't know how this is supposed to work.
Okay, we're not taking an actual vote.
Yeah.
Well, I know this meeting, but there's a special meeting right after this with that as the purpose. Is it in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what it
So
says.
that's-
And what is and this was for 2 years.
Right.
you make a motion to postpone the meeting till next week?
Well, I guess we could just leave it at first reading. We could just do that. Okay. If that's the will of the, I'm willing to do whatever the for everybody else, because I just think it's a crapshoot at this point. What we do.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
So I think we do need to move it on if we want to just do it next week.
right.
Yeah, I believe it's a good idea to have that information next week. I believe it'll be profitable in the proper decision.
I'm okay.
Okay. So with the second item agenda on gas aggregation agreement, moving it to next week, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
Thank you. Number 3 on the item or the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the certification of the 2020 utility tax agreements. This is utilities.
Yes. You have the printout that we have. This could decrease by the end of the month, possibly. The only way that this could decrease as if the individual accounts pay their debt in full by the end of the month. And that's the only way that this will decrease. Otherwise, the amounts to the different accounts will be assessed to the property taxes.
Any questions from council on this item? What is the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
Number 4 is an ordinance to approve the design review commission changes. This is planning, Mr. Karras.
Yeah, at the committee meeting, we heard from Selenius, and we also have some items, some changes from the Design Review Commission that they already voted on. I have sent them for their next meeting the consideration of Larry's changes, and I added one more. So one concern was the guidelines, which code says the commission gets to make itself. And Larry proposed the idea that we add with approval of council. So in other words, the Design Review Commission would still be in charge of changing their guidelines, but then they would be accepted upon approval of council. So I forwarded that change along with the other changes we talked about last week. And again, these are all just proposals, not to say that these are going to. But my point is, and I said it last week, I want the Design Review Commission, since this is code that talks about their duties and responsibilities, to have the opportunity to weigh in, read the changes Mr. Selenius has proposed, and provide us some feedback before we vote on it. So I'd like to move this forward, but I'd also like, if possible, to, my preference would be to go through the full 3 readings. So we have a, longer opportunity to consider these changes before we vote on them. But of course, it's the will of the council, what you want to do.
Any questions from council? Comments? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Number 5, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to apply for a grant through the EPA. This is also planning.
Yeah, so this is the Emerald Lake property we've talked about for the last year or so. There is another grant opportunity. I think we've already applied once before for this grant. The grant is for, I believe, $1,250,000, which would pay for the property along with some of the maintenance updates that need to be done to the property that would become then a park. We're not going to turn it to ball fields, but just a park for natural wildlife sort of exploration. So this is just to allow the mayor to seek this grant.
Questions? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Number 6 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a conditional purchase agreement with R.R. Wellington. This is also planning.
So in conjunction with the grant, this is a conditional purchase agreement with R.R. Wellington, who owns the Emerald Lake property. to purchase the property for, I believe, $975,000. So the grant would cover the cost of purchasing, but the agreement would be conditioned upon getting the grant. So we have to get the grant to get the property. If we don't get the grant, we don't have to purchase the property.
Any questions? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Number 7 is an ordinance authorizing subordination of the city's mortgage. This is community and economic development. Ms. Wood.
This is housekeeping. One of the, I believe it was economic development mortgages or refinances being done. We always have to have our funding at the bottom of the ladder. So we would just be subordinating beneath the current or the refinance.
Any questions from council? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
Number 8 is an ordinance authorizing NDS to acquire, demolish, and redevelop 218 West Main Street. This is also CED. Ms. Wood.
Again, we discussed this a couple of different times. This would be, as it says, the acquisition, demolition, and redevelopment of 218 West Main Street to create green space, additional parking that would definitely benefit Guidos, as well as the economic viability for any new businesses that would come into Riddle Block 9. And we would definitely be encouraging the landscaping and to make it a very appealing area to the downtown.
Any questions from council?
I've driven down the alley multiple times now trying to envision what it'd look like. It's going to be a fairly big space when it opens up. It's actually pretty wide.
Yeah.
Well, still great.
I had a couple calls. People got panicked thinking we were tearing down Guidos.
No way.
Don't start that
No,
rumor.
that is not correct.
Yeah, we'll have a real
I
meeting.
said, no way, no way.
Yeah.
If anything, it's to help us get
Questions from council then? What's the pleasure of the committee?
Ordinance.
All right, that concludes committee of the whole. Our meeting tonight.
We got a special meeting.
All right, well, I'll call to order the special city council meeting at 7:21 p.m. Chelsea, would you read the roll or the call? Excuse me.
You are hereby notified that a special meeting of the Ravenna City Council has been called for Monday, July 19th, 2021, immediately following the Committee of the Whole at 7 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss and or act upon Ordinance 2021-064 regarding the city's gas aggregation program.
All right, we've only got one item on the agenda, which is ordinance number 2021-64.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a fourth agreement with Constellation Energy Gas Choice Incorporated for the City of Ravenna Natural Gas Aggregation Program for the period of October 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
And we spoke about this, but does anybody have anything extra, additional to add? Okay. So we'll leave this here for second reading next week.
Okay.
So, all right. What do we have? Any motion to adjourn? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Wow, this is a record in one time.